Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm thankful for the chance to speak on this bill before us, to share a perspective that many of you don't know anything about, in the hopes that you might understand what people go through on the other side of this equation. I shared with some of my colleagues here that for the last 5 days, and anticipating this bill being called, that I was contemplating my response, what I would add to the debate. And I could tell you, some of you have noticed I've been going through some issues here. Medical-wise, I've been taking some medication that actually really accentuates emotions, which can range from very high to a little lower. So I have to really temper myself in this because I didn't want to get so angry that it just came off as an angry black man. And as I took the time before the debate to speak to the good chair of the Judiciary Committee to tell him that in these kind of bills that have come up in the past, that I've probably showed a little bit more aggressiveness and anger, and I just wanted to let him know that I had no ill feelings towards him personally on him doing his job of bringing these bills forward. I felt the need to say that because I didn't know what would come out of me today, and I wanted him to know that. I respect what he does, and it's really not personal. I'm so honored to come and serve. To serve in this General Assembly. It's in my DNA. This is me. This is me. And I love serving the people of my district, of my city, and the state of Connecticut. And there's only one thing that I have trepidation to, and that's the murderers, the vicious crimes that is prevalent within our cities in this state. And we talk about it in generic terms, murder. Is all too simplistic. Do you know, you have to recount the details of these murders. What happens? You heard my good colleague, Representative Sims, explain that, but there's so many other hideous murders. Calm down. You know, whether it's a criminal out on the streets of Waterbury bumping into a police officer to see if he has his protective armor on, then shooting him where it isn't and killing him. Whether it's a guy who gets in a car accident with a pregnant woman and there's a conflict and he kills a pregnant woman. There's a case of a 19-year-old in Waterbury who invites a young teenager into his yard. He has a sledgehammer and bludgeons his head to murder her. There's people who act like they're helping a woman who is in distress with a flat tire, who actually gives assistance winds up raping her, dumping her body in a nearby lake. Imagine what these people feel in their last moments of life. When we talk about murder, we're talking about those kinds of things. So let's not just use this generic term like it's just murders. It's so hideous. It is so very hideous. And I just want to take a moment to reflect on one person who came to the General Assembly, Dr. Pettit. So some of you were here when he came here, and what he went through. What he went through. And to his credit, when he came here, I wanted to talk to him and tell him that, can we please go out to lunch? I need somebody to talk to. I was hoping in talking to him, it would somehow be kind of therapeutic to talk to somebody, you know? And really, he came and left so fast that, I really didn't have the chance to connect. But I am so much in awe of him because he could have came here and just been consumed by the criminal justice element that has turned his life outside beyond comprehension to anyone in this chamber. But he didn't. Instead, he focused on serving the people in his district, dug into public health issues, and served his time and did what he could. And when he felt the time was right, he left. Before he could let this whole thing consume him. I'm kind of envious of that. And I wish him well. I don't want to be perceived as the opposition to the murder debate in this house. I do want to be defined in that manner. I would rather want to be defined for how we as the legislators, General Assembly, can bring to bear some resources for victims, families of these murders and these hideous sexual violent offenses. After all, we're talking about a murderer, one person, maybe a couple, but what's the fallout from that? Here's families. It's not one person. Families could be 2, 3, a dozen. Certainly for all of you who want to help murderers navigate through the system, get special consideration. Certainly, if you want to do that for these people that are in your districts, I would beg to say that certainly you should have interest in helping the victims' families. There's a lot more of them. There's a lot more of them in your districts. There's a lot more of them in your districts. Shouldn't we do something to help them? Have we seen a bill that says what we're going to do to help victims' families on the board? When's the last time you've seen one of those? Can somebody step up to the plate and help those families? Because I could tell you, as I described this, having lost a brother being murdered, there's, you got to do all you can. And I described some things about this whole process to some of my colleagues here and what it takes to not fall into the vengeance category. Let me tell you, to have that control, is something else. But at the time this guy was released, I had a wife. We bought a home. We had a beautiful daughter that we were raising. And if I fell victim to this vengeance, I would have fell into being on the murder side of the category. My wife would have lost the house that we worked so hard to get for our family. My daughter that went on to excel beyond belief, going to 2 Ivy League schools, doing really, really good. How would her life has changed if I was incarcerated during those years and couldn't support her and drive her all over the East Coast in this whole process of helping her and her achievements? If I wasn't there for that, where would she have been today? Where would she have been? It would have just been another mother and daughter in poverty that we don't do enough to support because we don't support the victim's family. Anyway, moving right along, I just want to let you know where my heart is. I feel strongly that people who are released from incarceration should be given resources to find housing, training, jobs. I do. I support that. Because what's the alternative? We don't even think about that. So it's better for us to support them. I believe in that. I support that. So I just want to let you know, this is just not me being hell-bent on opposing this. I believe in that. But I believe in that under the conditions that all of these people who commit crimes, no matter it's sexual offenses, murder, they should be held to the sentencing and all the rules at the time of their sentencing. That was the rule of law then. Let's not go and try to adjust this for them later. No, adjusting them, no. This adjustment stuff, no. Let them live by the rules that was in place when they committed the crime. And when they come out, I'd be more than happy to support them in any way we can. I will also say, and I recognize that, and I'm not going to misrepresent the bill. This is not a bill to just open the door and let people out. I realize that. Okay? But they should do their time. And when it comes to the argument, it's priceless. Priceless. The mind doesn't develop until 25 years old. I'm sorry. How many of you didn't get it until you were 25 years old? Really? Really? Come on. Come on. I'm not buying any of that. I'm not buying any of it. And I think it is so dangerous to even invoke that into this debate. Because if we just say that we're going to be blindly given a blanket for poor decisions, fatal decisions for people up until the age 25, we are doomed. We are doomed. I know that my parents, Wilkes Sonny Butler and Melvia Butler, they ain't happening in their household. We were raised with God-given sense. And let me tell you, in the fear of God, in a father figure, that I dare you. Now, some of these young people may not have that presence in there, but let me tell you, I think for the most part, somebody has somebody in their lives that play that role. And I could tell you, it was portrayed, it was demanded of us. Don't let us have to come to school to talk to anybody about your behavior. Do not let me get a call, because whatever's going to happen there, when you get home, it's going to be a whole different story. But, I mean, I guess back then we were held to a different standard. And I don't know what it's going to take for parenting to actually adjust to life as it is today, but we're going to have to look at that in a different manner. 25 years old is no excuse. Let's just drop that nonsense, okay? That's nonsense. We can't give people 25 years and give them excuses to do whatever they want. I'm sorry. It's not an option. And then I could tell you that, I mean, to me, it comes down to, if I could ask one question, does it matter to anyone here, how would you feel about the person that murdered your loved one, your mother, father, sister, brother, child? Does it make a difference if they were 19 or 20 or 22, 24, or 25? Does it matter to you what age of the person that murdered your loved one? Are you going to stop and think, oh, this person killed my loved one. Oh, they were only 19. Yeah, they should get special consideration. How many people do you think for a second believe that? So if I were to ask that question and have everybody here answer it, does it matter if that person was 19 or 20 or 24 or 25? Do you think they should get special consideration and collect the combined answers here? I think I could just drop the mic. Because I'm sure it doesn't matter what age of the person that murdered your loved one. And I can tell you, it really wouldn't matter. And I'm going to move on quickly because I don't want to go too far. But you know what? I want to tell you about the process. So your loved one gets murdered, and victim's advocate comes to your house, interviews your family. And they ask you, okay, these are the guidelines for sentencing for this murder. 20 to 30 years, we think we could get 30 years, and what you advocate for, of course, you said 30 years. Anyway, then it goes to court. They present, our letters at the court, sentencing happening. They go off to jail, okay? And people, it was talked about, the victims' statements are taken under consideration in the parole board. Okay, fine. Really? Now, I'm going to give you the flip side of that. I'm going to tell you the reality. The reality is, now that that's all taken place, and we just seen the case last year, where all this played out, and what did the parole board do? For all the victims, and I heard there was closure that came with that, the conviction and submitting your letter of recommendations and consideration. Heard there was closure. Well, we just saw the parole board release how many people? Last year, just last year. Okay? And, by the way, they had the nerve to release 2 murderers from City of Waterbury who had 26 years left in their sentence. I don't know about you, but how much good time do you have to serve to get 26 years commuted from your sentence? Really? 26 years. So that means all those victim statements that were submitted meant what? Meant what? So whatever we do here on this what I'm trying to tell you can be circumvented by these folks. Regardless of this, regardless of trying to help, they in one fell swoop release all of these violent offenders, sexual offenders, murderers. So don't be fooled by this process, okay? The reality is something like that could happen. And I'm going to move on a little bit because I want to get to the end of this because I want the proponent to actually have his time. It's only fair for him to share his story. And, you know, we all have our stories, so I want to make sure that he has time for his story. But, all what I'm sharing with you, if we had to take a scale of 50,000, and what I'm sharing with you, the needle might not even make it to 1. That's how much of this impacts a family over all these years. It's these people will possibly get a chance to be released from prison and redeem themselves. Myself and all the victims, all the victims' families. You know what our sentence is? Our sentence is life without parole. For the rest of my life, for the rest of my family's life, for the rest of all the victims' families' lives, they will live with this for the rest of their lives. I have to take this to the grave because I cannot purge myself from it. Please consider that for all the victim families. They carry it for the entirety of their life. Now I say, instead of doing something like what's here, we should take a proactive approach. Okay, let's cheer up a little bit. Okay, let's do some things like passing more bills, like Tammy Exum with the 5001 bill for mental health. We talk about addressing that 25-year age thing. That kind of legislation where we put that in elementary schools, middle schools, expand it, okay, address mental health issues. Let's start there. Let's start there and address it there so they don't grow into the bad behavior stage. Let's start nipping it in the bud. That's one way. Another way is let's expand the juvenile justice review boards to create diversionary programs so that they're not off to jail. How about we put more money into that? Okay? The youth violence prevention dollars that we actually bring into our neighborhoods, okay? We actually do after-school mentoring. We have children that go to community organizations, okay, and have robust activities. We keep these kids off the streets and away from the criminal element on the streets. It's valuable. We can't even measure the success that has had because the success is only measured in what we don't read about in the newspapers and see on TV. But I'm telling you, it's playing an important role in actually curbing violence. Let's put more money into that. Let's do more of that. Got another thing. How about we address poverty? Poverty. And it's a big term, but we could kind of nip it around in different pieces and talk about how to deal with it. And I could tell you there's one thing that I actually got from Representative Minnie Gonzalez. Now, this kind of bill, let me tell you what this bill should be. Let me tell you what this bill should be. Minnie Gonzalez, great idea. We were talking yesterday. Why don't we set up a transition program in our prisons that we actually do training for inmates that are coming out soon, do training, that we have caseworkers work with them to facilitate housing and jobs. So we don't wait until they open up the door. We don't wait until they open up the door, throw them back in the neighborhood, and we're going to do these things. We've already have it in place. When they're released, they already have somebody working with them for housing. They already have matched with a business to give them a job. And that makes a lot of sense. Minnie, that's great. You should submit that next year. That's what this bill should be. Let's form the transition before they leave. So upon being released, they have housing, they have training, they have a job, they have a business that will accept them. The success rate is probably, exponential. Great thing. That's what we should be doing. And we got about 2 or 3 more things to talk about here, but I'm telling you, and please, from my perspective, and for a lot of people, I'm sure it's not just me, there's this statue of Lady Justice outside courtrooms. And what is she wearing? A blindfold. Now, you can interpret that a couple of different ways. I could tell you one such way. She doesn't want to see what's going on in that courtroom. Because she stands for justice. But what happens in this courtroom isn't always justice. You know what it is? It is the rule of law. It is the rule of law that we live by and controls us and keeps us in the boundaries to be civilized people. That's what the rule of law is. But please don't go there and think that you're going to get justice. You ask all the people who have gone through the system, especially when they're the victims of these hideous crimes, how many of them think justice has been served? Boy, I'd like to see that poll, because I could tell you, justice doesn't enter the equation. It really doesn't. So, and that's the fallacy. We expect everybody to live by the rule of law and behave themselves, but when we call on it because we believe in it and see that it doesn't work, you lose faith in the system. And losing faith in justice is a terrible thing. I mean, that leads to some of these people that when you see on TV, there's a shooting on one side of the city in the early part of the day, and there's retribution on the other side that has been a retaliation for the one on the other side. It's because these people don't believe there's going to be any justice, so they're going to take it into their own hands. That's fallout from this as well. And I only have like 2 more things that I want to share. Please, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here, maybe a term or 2, but I would be heartfelt if I see in the next session somebody offer some bills that provides relief and resources to the victims' families. They're in our cities, they're in our districts, they're in our state. They deserve to be helped. Can somebody step up? Can somebody step up and help him? Can somebody please step up and help them? And so I'm against this. I believe that the people who commit the crimes, they should follow the rules at the time that they committed crimes. Full stop. That's it. Period. That's it. And upon release, I'd be more than happy to help them. Or if we pass the bill for the transition, I'm all in for that too, and help them. But this, no, this is not it. And please, I will end in telling you, it just pains me to come here every time one of these bills come. In the last 5 days, the first day, I only got 2 hours of sleep. The second day, I got 0 hours of sleep. The third day, I got 2 hours of sleep. The fourth day, I got 0 sleep. And last night, I got 2 hours. So I can't wait until we get out here tonight. So I'm hoping now that this discussion is over, I can have a night of sleep. Please, the last thing I want to leave you with is the victims' families have a life sentence without parole that they have to live with for the rest of their lives. They take it to the grave. I will have to carry this burden to the grave. Please remember that. Thank you for the time, Mr. Speaker. There's so much more I could share. I don't know, somebody said I should write a book. Maybe I should, because people need to know what to expect when they have to go through the process of being on that side of the equation, or what it takes to go through the system, navigate the system, and then live with it for the rest of your life afterwards. I just can't. I can't articulate it any better in the time we have, but thank you. And thank you to for the Chamber for taking the time to listen. I hope that I have actually given you some insight into the inner workings of being a part of the victims' families equation, what it takes to navigate the judicial system, how the parole board could make arbitrary decisions to the betrayal of the very people that they say, we took your statement and we're going to hold them accountable to that and then release them. Please, don't forget these things. Don't forget them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Butler.